Here are 5 coaching concepts that your coach got wrong or coaches are still getting wrong today that are dumb. Number 1, punishing an athlete for being late. Now, this one does have some caveats to it before anyone gets mad. If it's right after school and you have plenty of time to get to practice, but you're constantly late because you're goofing around, that's on you. Yeah, you need some accountability, and a punishment might help as a reminder to not waste others' time. Or if you're driving yourself to practice and you're constantly late, that's also a problem. I say constantly because sometimes there's traffic or whatever thing you can't account for, no matter how late or early you leave. But outside of the parameters, when it's directly the athlete's fault that they're late, punishing them is stupid. Parents have jobs. They're the one driving them to practice. Multiple kids. Some days there's going to be traffic, and it's totally out of their control for that athlete to make it there on time. Then to put that pressure and unwarranted stress onto the athlete, let alone a parent that feels bad when practice is at 6 and they get off at work at 5, it's dumb. A zero tolerance rule of you're late, you're gonna run is a flawed system inside of a world of youth athletes and parents trying to get them there. Number 2, and rightfully put, two-a-days. I've done several videos on why Hell Weeks are dumb, but this one is a little bit more specific to having 2 practices a day, typically before the season starts. I get it, season is about to start, and you have a bunch of new athletes typically coming off of summer break. But doing two-a-days is just a coach writing a check they won't be able to cash later on in the week, or definitely in the following week depending on how many days they go twice. If a coach can't get the work done within 1.5 to 2 hours, then they need to sort out the organization of practice and or reassess their skills on productively running a practice in a good time frame. I don't know how often I've heard athletes come over to the gym or teams talk about doing 2 days and it becomes a good outcome. Wait, it's never. It's just voluntarily injuring your team with too much work in order to limp their way into the actual season with performance reduction. During the week in which they're doing 2-a-days might be all fine and well, but it's the week or weeks after that suffer. Also, the coaches that do it every year and expect a different outcome is insane. And the conversation of this topic always drifts into the section of, oh, well, those athletes didn't prepare over the summer, they're weak, they're soft, whatever. They can't handle it, we're weeding out the athletes that can't handle tough work, and we're trying to build as a team. Sure. Say that all you want. Anyone can ride the ego train until they're all hurt or dealing with chronic pain that reduces performance. 1 practice a day is all you need. In the long run, players will physically move better, mentally feel sharper, literally be faster, and intelligently know you're a better coach because of it. Number 3. Putting your hands on your knees versus putting your hands on your head. If there was a sports performance or scientifically backed concept that I could send to everyone's cell phone that they would have to read and sign off on, it would be this concept. Putting your hands on your knees when you are tired is significantly more productive for recovery and performance. I'm going to say that a second time. Putting your hands on your knees is better for you. This nonsense is outdated, unintelligent, and just wrong. There was a research study done in 2019, at this point about 5 years ago, that took college-level soccer athletes, had them run on a treadmill, and when recovering, had them put their hands on their knees or their hands on their heads. And in that study, there was significant evidence that shows putting your hands on your knees, you were able to recover faster. By putting your hands on your knees versus your head, you were able to get your heart rate to come down faster, allow you to recover faster, which is going to allow you to play better in that game or practice or just the next sprint right after. This whole thing has to go. It makes no sense, and the reason it doesn't feel better is because it doesn't work. And no, it doesn't shout, "I'm tired" to the opposing team. Or at least if they were educated, it wouldn't. A coach that is still advocating for this posture when tired is like the dad on the sidelines that thinks their coaching advice is helping out at all, when in reality, it's just embarrassing, uninformed, and ineffective. Number 4, doing too much conditioning. There is a time and place to do extra conditioning with any team or any sport. Certain sports will require more direct running or sprints more than others, but there is a line. Most sports, if not all of them, don't need long distance conditioning, and if you're doing too much, you're actually probably slowing your team down. On this topic, I'm even going to give some actual advice that you can utilize to improve your conditioning and not result in slower athletes. But first, let's go over why doing too much conditioning is a bad idea for those that don't want to believe me. All sports have different degrees of stamina or overall conditioning needed to be proficient in games or over the season. But if you're doing too much running or conditioning at the beginning of the season, you might just be slowing your team down, as I've said several times now. A volleyball player or football player doesn't need to be able to run miles in a certain time frame. They need to be explosive. Soccer players might cover 5 to 7 plus miles inside of a game, but those miles are broken down into jog, sprint, and walk. It's not constant running. Then on top of doing too much conditioning being counterproductive, when going into a season, you're going to have athletes at different conditioning levels to start. So this is my suggestion, putting all of those variables into the equation with some that I didn't even mention. At the beginning of a season, don't do 2-days, don't do hell weeks, don't do any extra conditioning whatsoever for the first 2 weeks. Just practice, play games, scrimmages, whatever. Then in week 3, pick out one conditioning test that is relevant to your sport. So for longer distance sports, let's say you do 20/40s. You have to make 8 to 10 of them in a row for you to pass the test. For shorter distance sports, some type of shuttle. For volleyball, I would pick 150-yard shuttles. Then run that test on all of your athletes. Those that pass, they're good. They don't need any post-practice conditioning. They just need to play hard and practice hard. That will do the work for them. The athletes that don't pass the test, they're subject to doing extra conditioning post-practice. Then retest them 1 to 2 weeks post the original test. Once they've reached the goal, they're done with extra conditioning as well. That's it. It keeps the whole system fair and allows for already conditioning athletes to be faster and work on different parts of their sport, injury-free and productive, all while bringing the other ones up to the same level. Number 5, and the last one, coaches that talk too much. I also want to throw in there, not talking loud enough when addressing the entire team in a spread out space. I say that part because years ago, I went to a soccer practice and was helping out just for fun and old time's sake. And being a coach now in a gym setting with loud music and weird outside noises constantly going on, I've really had to learn how to project my voice. But during that practice, the coach, first of all, would stop play way too often or stop drills, then would talk for way too long. All while me, a grown adult there, couldn't hear him on the other side of the drill while standing with the other half of the team. It drove me nuts, not just from the standpoint of being a coach there, but thinking back to the past like, oh, well, maybe my coach didn't have the best communication skills. Then them yelling at us for 10 minutes because we're zoned out because we can't hear them and they're talking for way too long because we just want to play. And we couldn't even hear them in the first place. All while there's no way I or any of us were going to speak up about not being able to hear him in their angry rant. Typically on something we kept messing up on because we get one chance and then he would stop us again. Coaches, if you're talking for over 2 minutes more than 1 to 2 times per practice, it's too much. The younger the athlete, the worse the attention span. I know when I was younger, every single time a coach would just keep going on and on and on. I'm just thinking in my head, let's go, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play. Stop play, talk for that little bit, get to your point, and move on. Kids at younger ages learn faster by actually making mistakes. Knowing it was a mistake and then repeating the process till they get it correct. They don't learn faster by you telling them what the mistake was and then keep telling them without them actually getting in reps. That's it. 5 concepts that coaches have gotten wrong over the years or still to this day. Comment any disagreements or ones I should add to the list. I feel like this video could be a whole series of stories or just more concepts that need to be talked about. Thank you.